Senator Lindsey Graham went on Fox, and he spoke about Trump's Supreme Court nominee, Neil Gorsuch. So let's watch him whine about what the Democrats are doing.
Well, it's a head scratcher because Neil Gorsuch has done so well in those confirmation hearings, and we know that he had 100% approval when he was trying to get a lower seat judge, and the Democrats loved him. So now Chuck Schumer is saying absolutely not. What do you think's behind this?
Politics. He's running scared of the left, who's gone absolutely insane after Trump won the election. This has nothing to do with Neil. It has everything to do with the Democratic base and the hard left taking over the Democratic Party. Chuck Schumer has been a destructive force, in my opinion, when it comes to the traditions of the Senate. Neil Gorsuch has decided 2,700 cases. In the last 10 years, he's been overturned once. 97% of his decisions have been in the unanimous in the 10th Circuit. 99% of the time, he's been in the majority. He had the highest rating available by the American Bar Association of well qualified, a 900-page report on who he was as a judge and a person. 500 lawyers from left, right, middle said he's one of the most talented judges in the entire country. Donald Trump did a home run pick with him. There's no better Republican judge to be picked anywhere. A Republican president could not have chosen better than Neil Gorsuch. So this is just all politics with Schumer. And I hope some people in his party care about the Senate and the country and will not go where Schumer leads them.
That was great. He spoke for a pretty long amount of time there. Didn't mention a single policy. Didn't mention a single issue. But he was just citing numbers. You know, he decided 9,716 cases in his career. Of those cases, 97% of them have been unanimous. There were 42 strippers from Vermont who came out and supported Neil Gorsuch. So we should maybe consider that there were a lot of strippers in Vermont that like Neil Gorsuch. You're not saying anything. You're just saying numbers. Like, let me just spew some fucking word salad and numbers at you. And like, what do you think people are going to say? Whoa, he said numbers. I give up. What the fuck does that? Doesn't mean anything. And then I love, in his mind, the hard left has taken over the Democratic Party. I wish the so-called hard left has taken over the Democratic Party, because according to Lindsey Graham, Bernie Sanders is hard left, and Bernie Sanders, when you go policy issue by policy issue, according to the polling, the American people agree with him on virtually everything. So when the so-called hard left takes over the Democratic Party, that would mean they'd be representing, the American people, you jackass. So please, there are so many flaws in what he's saying there. But again, probably the most important point is, doesn't mention a single policy while making or a single specific decision. Doesn't mention any actual issues when he's making his pitch for Neil Gorsuch. That says something, doesn't it? So since he didn't do it, let me do it for you. Here's one of the things that Neil Gorsuch did. He wrote a book about how physician-assisted suicide is immoral, unethical, and is illegal and unconstitutional. So in other words, if you have stage 4 cancer and you're in excruciating pain and you decide, hey, look, I want to end my life peacefully and I want to have my family by my side, Neil Gorsuch, who claims to be a small government conservative Republican, would step in and say, nope. I, as a representative of the government, know better, and you should not be allowed to do that. So have you ever considered, Lindsey, that maybe on that alone, it's enough to say, I think this guy's a destructive force for the country. I think he's dangerous, and I don't think he should be able to lord over our lives. Guys, the Supreme Court pick is arguably just as important, if not more important, than the President of the United States, because there are lifetime appointments on the Supreme Court, and Neil Gorsuch is pretty fucking young. So this guy's going to be making decisions that affect your life directly for decades and decades if he's confirmed. You think maybe that's important? That if a physician-assisted suicide case ever makes it to the Supreme Court, that Neil Gorsuch might strike it down and condemn millions and millions of people to experience pain when they want a safe way out of their life and they want to do something with dignity, death with dignity. They want freedom and liberty to make that decision. Nope, doesn't even feel like it's worth bringing up. He's decided this many cases in his career, and this as many have been unanimous, and is never overturned, except not this many times. The fuck does any of that mean, Lindsey? Doesn't mean anything. Also, he decided wrong on Hobby Lobby. He was on the side of theocracy for Hobby Lobby. Now, the Hobby Lobby case, for those of you who don't know, the gist of it is the owners of the company can determine what goes in your health insurance plan based on their own religious convictions. So if the owner of the company decides, hey, I don't like that you use birth control even though you're an employee for me and I shouldn't get to make fucking private decisions about your life, the court said, no, they do get to make those private decisions. They're giving them a health insurance plan, so they get to dictate what's in that health insurance plan. By that logic, why can't somebody who's an anti-vaxxer say, I don't want vaccines to be covered in the health insurance plan of my workers? Now, they try to have their cake and eat it too in the ruling where they say, no, not for something like vaccines, but for something like birth control, yes. But that doesn't make any sense. You can't just carve out, well, when the exceptions are things I am okay with, then it's fine. When the exceptions are things I'm not okay with, then it's not fine. You laid the groundwork, you set the precedent. And by the way, they decided, the Supreme Court decided, actually I think it was in the 1990s, when a Native American said, I want the religious right to smoke my peace pipe, to do the drugs I want to do, I think it was peyote. They're like, no! What do you think this is? We don't have a theocracy in this country. We can't make special exemptions for religion. That's what they said. And they were right in that case. By the way, I think you should be able to smoke peyote, but not because it's your religious right, because I think you should just be able to smoke peyote. I think it's your right. You should be able to put in your body what you want to put in your body. So that's a different, it's a different conversation we could have at another time. The bottom line is, they said no special exemption for Native Americans for their religion, but yes, a special exemption for Christians and their religion. Funny how that works. In the majority Christian nation, the Supreme Court decides, let's bias the rules in favor of the Christians. So that's what happened. It was absolutely sick. And the arguments they used were just so incredibly stupid. Neil Gorsuch says, yes, I want theocracy is the way to go. We need to have a theocracy. We need to allow the religious business owners to control different aspects of the lives of their workers because they have a religious conviction. So in other words, the religious conviction or irreligious conviction of the worker, irrelevant. What does the owner say? By the way, he has consistently sided with management, doesn't side with workers. Shocker, a Republican who sides with the powerful. He's been on the side of money in politics routinely. And then the example from the other week that I just learned about, I didn't know about this. There was apparently a case where, and this goes right to the heart of siding with management over workers. There was a case where there's this truck driver who was, it was like freezing outside, negative 20 some odd degrees with the wind chill. And he ran out of gas in his truck. And he was told by management, you got to wait there. He fell asleep and, he said, look, I can't feel my fucking legs. So the guy was on the verge of hypothermia. And he kept speaking to management. They said, nope, stay there. Somebody will be there shortly. He decided at the last minute, look, I got to do something here. So what he did is he went to, I think it was a trailer that was connected to his truck. And he got in there and turned the heat on or whatever. And he left the truck for a little bit and then came back in a little bit. But if he didn't make that move, which management told him, don't do it, but he did it. But if he didn't make that move, he could have died. Neil Gorsuch was the only judge in that case. It was like a wrongful firing case. They fired him after that. Neil Gorsuch was the only judge who said, no, I agree with management. You got to say, even if it means you're going to die, you should stay there. Well, that's just stupid. I mean, that's just idiotic. Like you have zero sympathy, zero empathy. You're a fucking corporate tool and a robot. And now we're supposed to pretend like, Judge Gorsuch, so respected. No, you're a super douche. That's what you are. You think you're a faux intellectual, just like Scalia. He cried while he was skiing, please, down a mountain when Justice Scalia died. He said, I tried to look down the mountain, but my eyes were so watery from the tears I couldn't see. Oh, Scalia, we love you so much. Hail Scalia. Hail Scalia. A guy so he praised the guy. He loved the guy. It was his fucking idol. The guy who said the devil is literally real, as Justice Scalia did. Justice Scalia said blacks belong in slower track schools. He defended torture vociferously and all of Bush's extrajudicial decisions. So this isn't an intellectual, it's a faux intellectual. He went to the best schools in the world. He's a far-right establishment Republican. Born and raised, bred that way. His mom was apparently in the EPA and slashed regulations for Nixon. So this is like the out-of-touch, Ivy League frat boy that you've been warned about your entire life if you're a working person. That's who this is. And Lindsey Graham, oh, please, I do declare. Well, I would love Neil Gorsuch to spend an evening with me in a dark room. I mean, I didn't mean that out. Did I say that out loud now? Let me just tell you, he's a great judge, and we don't want politics to get in the way. He's not a great judge. His record is abysmal, and here's the evidence of that. You mentioned no issues when pitching him, and I mentioned 5 or 6 to oppose him.